Good morning. My name is Marg Mrazek, and as the 2020 chair of the St. Albert and District Chamber of Commerce, it is my pleasure to welcome those of you who are joining us today, both virtually and in person, for this year's State of the City address. I would especially like to welcome our government representatives and dignitaries from surrounding communities. Welcome. We'd like to honor and acknowledge that we are on traditional land within the Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis people in Alberta. We acknowledge all, recognized and unrecognized, who have cared for and who continue to steward this beautiful land. We'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, Charlene Saltenko of Desjardins Insurance and the City of St. Albert. It is through the continued generous support of our sponsors that we're able to bring events such as today. It is now my pleasure today to introduce our keynote speaker. Mayor Cathy Heron's roots run deep in our community. Born and raised in St. Albert, Mayor Heron has been an advocate for our city, serving as a councillor for 7 years prior to being elected in 2017 as the second only female mayor of St. Albert. Mayor Heron leads by example, believing that through action you can impact change. She is the vice president of the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association for cities under 500,000, a director on the Alberta Recycling Management Association, and a voice for St. Albert in the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Board. Prior to her election as a councillor, she was an active community stakeholder, serving on the Environmental Advisory Board, as well as the Community Services Advisory Board. She was a Girl Guide leader and active parent in her children's schools. She continues to be an active Rotarian in the Rotary Club of St. Albert. It is not uncommon to see her delivering Canadian flags around St. Albert with her partner, John, or attending the Friday morning breakfast in support of the Rotary programs. It is her goal as mayor to continue to contribute in our community where her children will choose to live and raise their children. The strong values of community and diverse respect that drew her parents, Joe and Denise, to raise her and her sister here, remain the values she believes St. Albert will continue to instill in future generations. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Heron to the stage.
Thank you, everyone. And Mark, thanks for acknowledging my mom and dad there in the audience today. And John, thank you for coming. And thank you for those of you that are here in the audience. We had some decisions to make about how to run this event with COVID, and I did not want to stand on this stage with no one to look at. So seeing a few friendly faces is fantastic, so I really do appreciate that. So ministers, members of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta, deputy ministers, business owners, and fellow members of our community of St. Albert, good afternoon and welcome. And thank you once again for the privilege of addressing you all here at this year's State of the City. Before I begin, I'd like to draw your attention to an important annual cause supported by our city and many others in our region, the Salvation Army Christmas Kettle Campaign. This campaign is among the longest running and most recognizable charitable events across Canada at this time of year. The familiar sights of humble and gracious bell ringers is a telltale sign that Christmas and the season of giving and hope are upon us. It is a reminder that help and charity are something we must always offer one another. The Kettle Campaign harkens back to tradition that began more than 130 years ago at the Port of Liverpool. Boat passengers and dock workers could toss coins into a large kettle to help those in need. The Salvation Army adopted this idea in San Francisco in 1891. 12 years later, the kettle was used for the first time in Canada, in the city of Toronto. And today, there are more than 2,000 kettles across our country. They are the only point of contact many of us have with the Salvation Army. And thanks to your generosity, this charity supports programs in St. Albert and across our region. As you can imagine, demand for their services are even higher this year. The Salvation Army needs volunteers. Please offer to sponsor or host a kettle this year. When the Sally Ann bells are ringing, people in our community are getting the help they need. When the bells are ringing, people everywhere are reminded that they are not forgotten. To everyone here today, thank you for your support of this noble charity. And to the Salvation Army, thank you for your commitment to the residents of St. Albert. We are a stronger and more resilient community because of your efforts. So we don't normally do the State of the City in November, but we do annually do a proclamation in November, so I would like to carry on that tradition. So whereas for more than 130 years, the Salvation Army has contributed greatly to our society through its charitable and compassionate work, and whereas the services offered by the Salvation Army are designed to meet pressing material and social needs and to foster healthy individual, family, and community development, and whereas the annual Christmas Kettle Campaign provides St. Albertans with the opportunity to support this valuable organization, now therefore, on behalf of Council, I, Cathy Heron, Mayor of the City of St. Albert, do hereby proclaim November 18th to December 24th, 2020 as the Salvation Army Annual Christmas Kettle Campaign Month here in the City of St. Albert. And I wanted to make sure, here you go, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining us. And I wanted to make sure I could give a first contribution. So thank you. And so for those of you here, the kettle will be in the lobby afterwards. They will take cash. But if you prefer a touchless offering, they will take debit or credit card, or there's a number, 780-458-1937. You can donate that way as well. So once again, good afternoon and welcome. Before I ran for mayor, I consulted with some of my predecessors for their advice and direction. A former mentor said to me, "Cathy, your mayorship will be defined by something you haven't thought of and won't see coming. How you react, how you lead will define your term." He didn't know it, but he was warning me about 2020. Life is so very fragile. We are all vulnerable. We will at some point in our lives be tested to our very souls. St. Albert, the region, the province, and the country, and the world for that matter, were tested this year. Strength and resiliency. Who could have imagined just how important these qualities would become for our community this year? But as hard as these trials are to endure, they are just one part of our story. They are a theme that every other community and government are facing. But they are also a prologue to more, and to what I see as a positive opportunity and hopeful time ahead for our city and our culture. To mark our success on a path forward, we must, of course, take stock of the impact the pandemic has had on our city. COVID-19 has inflicted immense societal and economic damage, often in ways we could not predict. COVID disrupted much of what we do as a city. The recreational services had to completely shut down for several months. And of course, our transit is still not back to full service. Our 2020 budget was essentially derailed. Expected incomes vanished. Expected expenses were thrown into turmoil. New emergency response expenses appeared that weren't in the budget, but it became the #1 priority as we struggled to keep residents safe in the face of something no one understood quite yet. Our residents have suffered, and businesses have suffered. Businesses not only shut down, but they still needed to pay staff, leases, and expenses. Once they opened again, they faced uncertain new operating models and consumer trepidation. Restaurants and stores who pay lease by the square foot and budget based on how many clientele they can serve saw their allowable clientele cut in half. Most businesses shrunk, and sadly, some may not reopen. This has been the hardest time St. Albert has faced in recent decades, but we need to acknowledge that it could have been so much more worse. Were it not for the foresight of our city manager, Kevin Scoble, we would not have acted as swiftly and as effectively or been nearly so prepared. I would often tease Kevin that his development of our emergency response plan was bordering on an obsession, but I'm so now very thankful that he had us prepared so thoroughly. He and his team not only saved us money, they saved lives. And as new measures are implemented and health professionals try to handle this ongoing pandemic, it continues to cause great uncertainty for many of us. So like a wound, the recovery takes longer than the injury, and COVID has injured St. Albert. When St. Albert shifted into the shutdown earlier this spring, the city looked at a projected deficit of $14.4 million. This is a daunting number for a city of our size. Just to put it into perspective, $14 million is about a 14% increase in our taxes. We quickly understood the danger associated with carrying that kind of liability. Our administration and council were able to prioritize and make the difficult decisions needed to protect our future. Through careful and strategic expense reductions and efficiency measures, the City of St. Albert all but wiped out our projected deficit. Where other communities might face double-digit tax increases or are draining their reserves to pay for COVID response, St. Albert enters a new fiscal year on a solid financial footing. This is something to be proud of. Which means we won't be coming to the recovery phase with the massive debt many other communities are facing, because we are going to do more with less. We see a long healing process ahead of us, with both the province and the federal government struggling with increased debt brought on by COVID. So as an extension of these levels of government, we must plan. We aren't in the clear, and we aren't coming out unscathed. This budget season will be incredibly difficult, and this council will have some hard decisions to make, difficult decisions, unpopular decisions, but make no mistake about it, they are necessary decisions. I know that all Canadians will be feeling the financial pinch brought on by this crisis. Heck, the entire world will be feeling that pinch. But my goal as your mayor to not contribute to that in St. Albert. I believe that through good money management, we can keep tax increases in St. Albert to a bare minimum. It will mean redefining our priorities, understanding our role, maybe starting to reimagine service delivery and what we can no longer provide. My commitment to you is that we will make these decisions together with a long-term view of our city's future and without unfairly downloading costs onto residents and businesses. When the financial crisis struck in 2008, there was massive financial devastation on a scale never seen before. Huge established banks and major corporations collapsed. But the people who were prepared for the recovery made more money than anyone has ever made in history. I'm positioning St. Albert for the same type of bounce back today. St. Albert will be going into recovery with less debt and uncertainty than other communities, which will make us more appealing for business investment and give us opportunities to capitalize on new innovations that will come out in the global realignment. I know this is a big dream, but that's what's on the table, folks, and we can do it if we do it right. Alberta is facing its most difficult financial crisis. With a previous economic downturn, low oil prices, and now COVID, I've heard it referred to as the triple black swan. And so we're not going to recover alone. St. Albert will be a strong partner and an integral part of Alberta's economic recovery. We are positioning St. Albert as a leader in municipal efficiencies and as an investment-ready community that is aligned and engaged with the provincial government's economic recovery and diversification strategies. I understand our MLA Dale Nally is with us here today. I would ask him to convey this message to Premier Kenney. St. Albert, and I dare say the entire region, is ready to roll up our sleeves and work with the government of Alberta to get through this together. So how are we going to get there? So Council has approved a full rewrite and overhaul of our antiquated municipal development plan, our most important and highest statutory plan. After years of public consultation and evaluation, it is now nearly finished. This plan will guide how we grow and where we grow to 100,000 people. It has been written to reflect the values and aspirations of our city. For as long as most of us can remember, the gold standard of tax splits in St. Albert has been 80% residential and 20% non-residential. In 2020, St. Albert has reached that goal for the first time ever. So now I call upon St. Albert to get our standards on a new goal, a bold new target. 70-30, here we come. To achieve a 70-30 overall split, The MDP calls for a 60-40 split in the newly annexed lands, which should bring us to 70-30 overall in 25 years. We will achieve this by attracting new and innovative businesses, by expanding our industrial base with responsible manufacturing and warehousing. We have opportunities to become key sites for the knowledge-based sector, for artificial intelligence, for recycling, for the hydrogen economy, for the plastics industry, and of course, value-added agriculture. We, along with the Chamber of Commerce and Edmonton Global, are getting the word out that St. Albert is more than just open for business. We are the best place to open your business. This MDP allows for a low carbon form of development and positions St. Albert for stimulus dollars that are focused on green recovery as we build our city for the next generation. So once again, I need to thank you, the Chamber, for your continued involvement in this plan, and thank you to the Urban Development Institute for lending your expert advice. The next phase of St. Albert's success is upon us. So in order to achieve the 70-30 tax split, we need more land for more non-residential purposes. We pressed on during the summer and completed our annexation agreement with Sturgeon County. It will now be submitted to the Municipal Government Board for approval. This will provide ample land for the next 45 years for St. Albert to grow. But more than just room to grow, we have an opportunity of how we will grow. Never before have we had this chance to plan our city so far in advance, a great gift for future generations of St. Albert. At this time, I once again need to thank Mayor Lana Nachu and her entire council for their willingness and commitment to achieve mutually beneficial agreements. Regional relationships are a cornerstone of this council's priorities. And although annexation negotiations can be difficult, I'm looking at Councillor Watkins because he sat there with me, we were able to accomplish an agreement while maintaining an open and honest alliance with the county. Something that probably needs to be celebrated more than anything else is the servicing of what we currently call Range Road 260 and the Lakeview Business District, formerly known as the Employment Lands. This started out with our quest for a new site for recreation facility, but has now morphed into something much larger and much more exciting. We have long identified the West as a key strategic node, and we are investing in projects that will generate dividends. One such project is Gibbon Drive, which I will talk about in a moment, but another is the servicing of the west side of St. Albert. Significant government infrastructure spending following any economic downturn is a familiar strategy. It is aimed at encouraging economic growth and jobs. Getting people back to work is the top priority for the government of Alberta, and it's a top priority for the city of St. Albert. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the province for the stimulus money we received this summer, which we partially used to fund the servicing of this strategic node, and now we can watch development start. It's taken us almost 10 years to get to this point. Lakeview Business District will provide over 300 permanent, full-time, high-paying jobs, something we can all agree is needed right now. The Chamber of Commerce, the businesses, residents now need to seize the opportunity and strategize what the future of these lands will be. How competitive should our business tax rates be? What incentives should we use to draw businesses to these lands? It's an exciting time for our city, and I'm so proud of our staff and my council colleagues for taking the bold steps needed to make this happen. Traffic. Traffic issues never fail to come up and probably will never go away. Our relationship with traffic is pretty simple. We hate it. Yet traffic's relationship with the economy is much more complicated. Many American cities with the worst congestion also have the largest economies. To a certain extent, congestion is a sign that an awful lot of people have jobs to get to and money to spend, which is undisputably a good thing. We have all noticed that a closure in a downtown in our local economy due to COVID has positively affected our traffic situation, another gift of awareness brought on by COVID. But congestion may be a good indicator of active, vibrant urban places, but is also bad insofar as it means access is impeded, freight deliveries are unable to happen on time, frustration drives customers away, and industrial development requires a good transportation network. Sometimes the cost of alleviating congestion is higher than the cost of congestion itself, but your council has taken strong measures to indicate that we believe relieving congestion is required not only for driver frustration, but also for economic development. I point you first to Gibbon Drive. The innovative agreement we have reached with the province has had a direct positive impact on the delivery of Uline and the Riverside commercial area. Council invested $27 million and saw an immediate $80 to $90 million private sector investment in response, as well as increasing the desirability of Lakeview Business District. Not only will Uline have the biggest commercial footprint in St. Albert, it will also become the single biggest taxpayer in our city and one of our biggest employers. It is no exaggeration to say that this investment is the most significant commercial development in St. Albert's history. Uline investment signifies success in our efforts to be more investment friendly, to reflect the government of Alberta's determination to reduce red tape and get people back to work. For me, it's a sign of confidence in our city. Uline has continued to build during 2020, creating short-term construction jobs and eventually long-term operational jobs. We were also delighted this spring to announce the grocery store co-op in collaboration with the leading commercial developer, Hopewell. They will be joining our community through a sizable investment in Riverside Landing. This will bring more construction, more long-term jobs, and serves as an anchor to spur further development around it. These, along with Rohit's new development in the Northwest, which include land for a future rec center, are just a few examples of what have been made possible by the simple twinning of Gibbon Drive. Another big investment in infrastructure to spur development, bring jobs, and increase our non-residential tax base is the widening of St. Albert Trail North. St. Albert Trail in the North was originally built to rural standards. It is well past time to urbanize and widen this vital corridor and to make it attractive for future businesses. We started in 2019 and finished in 2024. The result of this roadway will not only be appealing for our residents, but be attractive for new commercial development. The work being done today is positioning this important economic corridor for the development of the future. As a kind of a side note, I need to thank St. Albert residents. The construction season in St. Albert indicated that we were still going on with some vital investment, and I received very little negative feedback about construction and traffic delays. I think people understand the necessity of these projects, and I thank you for your patience. I want to talk a little bit about regional transit. So a blue ribbon panel of external experts advised regional mayors that municipalities need to work together to build robust regional systems that can provide competitiveness on a global basis. The report, entitled "Be Ready or Be Left Behind," made it clear that we had to work together to ensure our ongoing prosperity. The report also made it clear that if we chose to work in isolation, we risked our social, environmental, and economic sustainability. The panel identified public transit as one of the cornerstones driving a region's global competitiveness. In our modern world, people are not constrained by traditional municipal boundaries. People travel to nearby cities for work, entertainment, shopping, and dining. As we grow into a modern metropolitan area and plan for an additional 1 million residents in the region, we need a public transportation system that recognizes this reality and connects us more effectively in a comprehensive way. The RTSC, otherwise fondly known as the Regional Transit Servicing Commission, is one of the most promising regional developments in recent history. St. Albert was one of the original proponents of regional transit, and we are excited at its potential moving forward. On a personal shout out, I need to acknowledge Councillor Wes Broadhead. It has been his vision that has got us where we are today. Regional transit is a proverbial game changer and will provide significant benefits to our residents for future generations to come. And as a bonus, improved opportunities for seamless travel across the region can create savings. We're looking at about $3.4 million per year across the region once the system is fully operational in 2026. So I love this quote. This should be what St. Albert is always working towards and thinking about. We're at a time created out of necessity where everything is on the table. This is a time for creative solutions for problems we've been trying to solve for decades. From municipal cash flows to responsible growth to business development. Whatever the problem, 2021 will be the year we find solutions, because we are all ready to think differently. In challenging times, one must question the accepted reality. Because things are going wrong, rapid answers are needed, and the solution may well be found outside the usual compass. In the world of government, we are often guilty of not challenging the norm. We are instead satisfied with following procedural traditions. It takes insight and courage to question your leaders. Why are we doing things that way, and how can we do them differently? In times of crisis, there seems to be more latitude for these questions. So it's time to throw everything on the table for inclusion and reevaluate. So how are we doing this? A couple of ways. We started a recovery task force. We have a group of residents in the city of St. Albert that I am so pleased that they stepped up and offered to volunteer their time. They are unique in their accomplishments and their positions, and they are providing great insight to council and to city administration on how we can help businesses and our most vulnerable through COVID and beyond. It's an 18-month project, and I thank the people that are sitting there from the bottom of my heart. We also have invested in an operational review. Quite often, operational reviews are started when councils don't trust or they question their administration. That is definitely not the case here in St. Albert. We have started our operational review out of necessity, in conjunction with a full cooperation of our city administration. We are throwing, again, everything on the table. It's going to be occurring in 2 phases, and we will be finding the efficiencies that have long eluded us. And I thank Ernst & Young for guiding us through this process. So we are most resilient when we live within our means, but also when we expand the means by which we live. I mentioned at the beginning how fragile life is, how we're all vulnerable. If there's one thing COVID has shown us in St. Albert, that we are a community and we care about one another. When the lockdown in March hit, citizens rose to the occasion to help their neighbors. And we have heard countless stories over the past 8 months of how this has happened. Since launching the Mayor's Good Neighbor Recognition Program, over 50 people have been recognized by their neighbors for a whole host of kind acts. Neighbors helped by picking up groceries and running errands to those under quarantine. Checking in with neighbors regularly and offering help. Bringing joy and happiness to neighbors by organizing outdoor physically distant street concerts, dance parties, block parties, and car parades. Brightening neighbors' days with surprise gifts such as baking, garden vegetables, soup, children's artwork, and wine. Yes, there were wine fairies in St. Albert this year. We saw residents dress up in bunny costumes and walk the streets at Easter for the kids. We saw acts of kindness, simple greetings and gestures, and so much more. These kind acts have, though seemingly simple, a big impact. One couple was brought to tears when neighbors they barely knew dropped off a note offering to pick up groceries or run errands after they'd just returned from Mexico early in the quarantine period. A mother was touched by the kindness of her neighbors, who were especially welcoming to her 3-year-old son with disabilities, when they invited him to enjoy and learn about their backyard garden. This was a welcome opportunity for her son to practice his social skills when so many other opportunities were unavailable due to COVID. And then there was a man whose medical issues and treatments prevented him from getting necessities, and was grateful his neighbors who recognized his challenge and provided unsolicited assistance for meals, encouraging words, and children's artwork that lifted his spirits and gave him strength, knowing he was not alone. It is said during our darkest times, the faintest lights shine the brightest. These are but a few of the shining lights in St. Albert that got us all through what would otherwise been a very dark time. This virus has shown us that our differences don't matter. The virus does not care whether its victim is Black, white, whether it's Christian, Muslim, Jewish, or atheist. Whether we're politicians, celebrities, sports stars, or teachers. It definitely doesn't care if we're liberal or conservative. It doesn't matter who you love, how much money you make, or how long you and your ancestors have lived here. This virus is attacking all of us, and it requires all of us to unite in the fight. St. Albert has done a great job. Hard times do expose us for who we really are. And yes, we've seen division and hateful speech, but more than anything, I've seen people rise up against that hate. I've witnessed compassion, sacrifice, and love. Social distancing has brought us closer. The word infectious is used to describe the virus spread, but it is also describing the hope that is spreading. And this is a city that is intent on doing even better. Life isn't good in St. Albert by accident. It's by design. At this time of year, in this very year of a pandemic, and always, your city leadership will strive to be like the humble bell ringers, humble, gracious, and giving, and full of hope. We are united in our service to each other, and for this, I am eternally grateful to serve as the mayor of this wonderful city. And let me be the first to say Merry Christmas to one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Heron. The mayor has graciously agreed to answer a few questions that have been submitted by our business community. It is my pleasure to welcome Shauna Randolph, who is not only a member of our chamber board, but as the owner of Shauna Randolph Communication, she is highly respected and trusted communication specialist with an extensive array of experience, knowledge, and invaluable skills needed to be an exceptional consultant. As Shauna and the mayor get settled, we ask that you watch this brief video produced by the city this past summer.
Where the trees speak of their legend's mystique, to the top of the mountain peaks, the whispering winds, leaves rustle and spin, and tell secrets of where they have been. Northern lights shining bright, dancing through the night. A great horned owl soars the sky and reminds me why. This is where I live, this is what I know, this is where I watch the city and plains grow. This is my home, beautiful and sweet, there's no place better to me, my home, my sweet home. Oh. The rainbows glow on the prairie's gold and cast light on the wild rose. Colors swirl the air, the lights of a fair, excitement of who will see there. Sights and sounds, memories found in every city and town. When the horses run in the rodeo sun, it tells me that it's the one. 'Cause this is where I live, this is what I know, this is where I watch the city and plains grow. This is my home, beautiful and sweet, there's no place better to me, my home, my sweet home. The winter nights are so bright, the snow on top of the trees. There's so much to do, so much to see. No place like St. Albert to me. 'Cause this is where I live, this is what I know, this is where I watch the city and plains grow. This is my home, beautiful and sweet, there's no place better than me. 'Cause this is where I live, this is what I know, this is where I watch the city and plains grow. This is my home,
That's lovely.
I love it.
Isn't that lovely? I've seen that video before a few times. That's produced by Real Story Communications here in St. Albert, part of the business community. Lovely.
I think it brings people to tears.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Hello, Mayor.
Hello, Shauna.
How are you doing today?
Great. Nice to see you. Thank you for doing this.
Yes, I'm thrilled to be here today. And we're going to play talk show. So it's talk show time. It's sort
Is
of
there
like
prizes?
TV. It's live streamed. We have a socially distanced, sparse studio audience. So, okay, so we've had some questions come in prior to the speech here today, and then a few that are being submitted online. So we're trying to get through as many as possible. I have until I guess it's a little bit after 12:40. I've been told I have a little bit more time. And so when you submitted them, some of them were similar. So when you hear me asking some of the questions, it may not be word for what you've submitted, but we're going to go through so many things. And I think it's close to the same order of what you touched on in your speech. So let's start with COVID. Okay. Of course, you spoke about the devastating effects that it is continuing to have on our businesses, and we've talked about the COVID Recovery Task Force as well. Many of our businesses just barely hanging on, as of course you've mentioned. With the increase in numbers, there is that thought out there again that businesses will be shut down. How will the city help businesses survive over the next few months, and then helping them rebuild and thrive in the future?
I think we learned a lot in April and the first half of May when we were shut down. And so those lessons that we learned at the beginning will have to carry us through if there is another shutdown. I'm not convinced there will be. We'll see. But you know, the Recovery Task Force has done a fabulous job of identifying some of the things that have really helped our residents. Curbside pickup was one thing that was fabulous. I think the other, the positive thing that's come out of COVID is this desire to support our local. And I think there's a slide that was showing, I think it's spread the cheer and shop here. That's a hashtag that they've created. It's about shopping local, and we are entering the Christmas holidays, and it's time for our residents to make that commitment to support those businesses and keep them, at least above water until a vaccine is here and we can get back to somewhat of a normal.
And so, of course, you touched on some of the ways that the businesses are trying to meet the need of their customers, clients, curbside pickup, that kind of thing. Is the city also continuing to look at new and perhaps novel ways to carry out the city business to serve St. Albert's residents and to reduce costs?
Absolutely. I think we've been doing that for a long time. We have a green tape initiative, which is about cutting out red tape. We have moved a lot of things very quickly to online services. You can pretty much do anything you need through the city, through our website now. The Recovery Task Force has ideas about new businesses and how we can develop a concierge service to try to guide new businesses through the process to establish their business license and their development permits, et cetera. So there's a lot of, that report is going to come to council on November 30th, and it will have a lot of those suggestions in there. So yeah, we've made it as safe as possible to do business with the city of St. Albert. I think we've done a fabulous job.
Another big concern residents and businesses have is the emotional and psychological effect COVID is having on everybody. What type of support is the city currently giving or looking at giving for that to our residents and business owners?
We do have a pretty robust programs that support the not-for-profits because they do a better job in many ways than the city would with the mental health issues and the food bank and et cetera. We do have some resources within our city that offer counseling for youth, et cetera. But generally we offer support externally to those mental health supports in St. Albert.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it?
It is tough.
Okay, next category.
Making a video like that, honestly,
exactly.
a simple little thing, I think went a long way. Tiny things that mean so much. And one of the things I talk about a lot is the driveway bonfire pits, which Sean was on my driveway and enjoyed that night. Such a small thing for the city to do, but it went so far with residents and made them just feel that they're still connected to their community. Building a community connectedness goes a long way.
Oh, right.
Goes a long way.
And all the socially distancing that happened with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, responsible. Okay, we want to transition now into budget finances. a question coming in here, or has been submitted prior to today. We appreciate all of the changes the city has had to make with regards to this year's budget due to COVID-19, which has put us in good standing compared to many other communities. You mentioned, and we all recognize, that council has had some difficult decisions ahead of them, looking for the 2021 budget and all of that. The City of Edmonton's administration has recommended no tax increase this year, as they recognize the financial strain that this pandemic has placed on their citizens. So is this something St. Albert is considering?
The way the budget was presented to the council this year was a base case, a status quo, and then opportunities to get us to zero. So we're looking at a 1.1 right now if council does nothing. But council has been going through the budget over the last couple of weeks, and we will start debate on December 1st. There are a number of motions that are already put forward that could bring us down to zero. But as I said, those decisions are difficult because they do impact residents more. These are service level adjustments. So we will have to, we can stop funding public art for 1 year, which we didn't do anything in 20, might not do in 21, but that's a service level adjustment that our staff doesn't have the authority to do. So they ask council, where is your comfort level on reducing services? We saw Edmonton stop mowing the grass this summer and saved them a lot of money, but I also saw the uproar from their residents. So, this is a two-way street. Residents have to accept some of these changes that we are going to be debating in the next couple. I keep pointing at Ray and Ken because they're here. But I guess the answer to your question is it's very likely that we can get to zero.
Okay, yeah. So it's on the table, consideration.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Mornville Town Council has also acknowledged the difficult times for its taxpayers. Among other actions, it has frozen wages for staff and elected members of council. Is this something St. Albert Council is looking at? And if not, though, why?
It's interesting. We did that in 2020. We did that last budget, and you can't continue to ask your staff to live on 0%. So we did it last year. We are going to have an in-camera discussion with our city manager next week about that very topic. I can tell you that we have lost good people in the city of St. Albert due to competitiveness issues because we don't pay as well as others in the region. In the 2020 budget, we were the only municipality that held salaries at zero, and council salaries as well, and our city manager gave up his increase, gave up his car allowance, everything. We did it already. So we can continue that, but we will lose good people in the city of St. Albert. And we have some fabulous people, and we need those fabulous people heading into this recovery. So I'm not exactly sure how council will direct our city manager on that one, but I think we need to recognize the good work our staff does.
Okay. In tune, speaking about our city manager, now transitioning a little bit to other sources of revenue on the table here. Kevin Scoble, of course, the city's chief administrative officer, official title, says the city must focus on revenue generation opportunities. So can you please identify what these revenue generation opportunities are and how much revenue these opportunities are expected to generate?
This becomes a sensitive topic because of the conversation we had last year about a utility corporation. Our municipality has very limited opportunities for revenue. It's property taxes, fines and fees, and then grants from other levels of government. So we can, and the biggest one I can think of as an example is the solar farm that the Recovery Task Force has pushed forward to council. Council has now pushed forward to administration to look at. A solar farm could generate a lot of money for the city of St. Albert. I just need to know if council today or the next council is willing to invest $30 million into it. The way it was proposed to us is it's $10 million over 3 years. It will generate enough revenue to pay the debt so that we won't have to go to taxes to pay that debt. But the questions are twofold. The changes are, we have a limited amount of debt that the province will allow us to take on. So do you want to take on $30 million for a revenue generation project, or do you want to spend it on a rec center? So these are really hard decisions. And if we had the utility corp, that would have been, the debt would not have been an issue. I think we'll probably go with the solar panels. I think there's a good use of a piece of land in St. Albert. We're still really actively pursuing the waste to energy conversations. So yes, there are opportunities, but they're just not as easy when you do them within the municipality.
Okay.
Yep. And I think, sorry, the revenue, you want to know how much? The solar panels, from what I remember, was about $1 million a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Regional collaboration now.
Okay.
Of course, you talked about that a lot. Fellow Alberta municipalities like Sherwood Park and Fort McMurray have both benefited from adopting the regional municipality model. This has been a boon to regional collaboration, provided pathways to sustainability for their respective residential tax bases. And the question with this is, has the City of St. Albert considered leading discussion about collaborating on a regional municipality model with Sturgeon County and the County of Redwater?
It's the town of Redwater. Sorry, it was,
Yes,
I forgot
county, town, Redwater.
Sturgeon County has a bunch of towns, Redwater, Gibbons, Legal. So that would be all encompassing. And no, the answer is we have not talked to Sturgeon County about, it would be an amalgamation and forming a specialized municipality. It does work, and it's not something I would ever shut the door to. I think it's a great idea. It quite often benefits the urban more than the rural, so it might not be something that the county would be interested in. But at the same time, I think we can accomplish a lot of the goals that you see with the specialized municipalities just through better collaboration and working together with our neighbors. And I believe, I can't remember if there's a question, but, you know, I've spoken with Mayor Frank, who's the mayor of Strathcona County, which is specialized, and he said they're small urbans, Warburg, not Warburg, some of them, they get fantastic facilities that they would never otherwise be able to afford with a hamlet of 100 people. But because they're in Strathcona, they get those nice amenities. So there's some huge advantages for smaller urban centers, and there would be big advantages for St. Albert because we would all be sharing in the revenue of everything in the region, and we would all be sharing in the expenses of everything in the region. We can do that without amalgamating. It's just awkward conversations.
Okay, yeah. Like I think a good example is what Parkland County and Spruce Grove, Stony Plain, all with the Tri-Leisure Center, Spruce Grove.
Yes, they all contributed capital, and they all contribute to operating. I would love that to happen in St. Albert.
Okay. Future development. We have to go to the future. Here's the question there. The Chamber agrees that the opening of the Lakeview Business District should be celebrated, as it is something the Chamber has long supported and promoted. In this regard, what type of development do you hope to see, and what would be the timeline for this area being open for such development be?
Timelines are, the servicing will hopefully happen by the end of next year, which I kind of touched on in my speech. We have in our budget this year a proposal to do the area structure plan for the area, because you need the plan and where the pipes will go once we start building. And then the excitement will be for the next council, I think, to kind of decide what sectors we want to attract. Our economic development department will be hugely involved. The chamber should be involved. The landowners should be involved. Residents of St. Albert should be involved. But as I mentioned a few in my speech, that artificial intelligence would be the knowledge-based sector, I think. Industry like Uline, which is, you know, logistics and warehousing and manufacturing, those are all great opportunities for the Lakeview Business District. I think I can't remember how big it is, but it's quite large. And so I don't see laid down yards or heavy industry ever going in there. That's not what St. Albert wants. But the future of industrial development is much cleaner, and that's what we're looking for.
Okay. I have a question here. First, a congratulations from this person on the work the city has done in regards to annexation. And of course, you spoke of that just a few minutes ago. Your vision for this area in the future?
Well, as I said, if we want to get to a 70-30 non-res tax split, that land will probably, majority of it will have to be either industrial or commercial, and probably industrial. There will be some residential growth there. There will probably be some commercial corridors in there to service it, but that will be determined by the next council. It'll be exciting work, but that push to the industry side is going to be required if we're going to get to that 70-30 split.
Okay. We know the city has been working to reduce red tape and make it easier and quicker for businesses to either set up or expand in St. Albert. Our reputation has perhaps not caught up with this, actually, according to this contributor. What plans does the city have to continue to reduce red tape for our businesses, and how can we better promote this to potential investors?
Well, we are working on Green Tape 2.0, but honestly, I'd have to agree with whoever sent that question in that we do a poor job of promoting the positives that we have. It's come out of the recovery task force that we need to do a better job of promoting how business friendly we are. When Uline came, they're in Quadriel, they immediately set up another for lease building because it was such a pleasant experience to do business in the city of St. Albert. We don't do a good enough job promoting that. We have probably the quickest turnaround time on business licensing and development permits in the region. There was an omnibus bill just released in the legislature a couple days ago, Bill 48, which is calling on municipalities to have quicker turnaround times on subdivision development permits. St. Albert's already ahead. So we need to do a better job of promoting that. And I hate to say that I was in a pub, but I was in a pub not that long ago. Patty's Pub, brand new pub. Got to go check it out.
You still have a life.
Well, and I met the new owner, and he was ecstatic on his experience of opening up a business in St. Albert. He said he walked in to City Hall looking to apply for his business license. Not only did he apply, he walked out with it. Got it in one day, a couple hours. And then he needed to get some health and safety checks done for code, and somebody was there that afternoon. And then the follow-up was done using technology, which is, I think, is fabulous for a smart city. They just walked around with their devices, made sure the work was done, checked off. He opened up a couple weeks sooner than he ever thought he would. He didn't even have staff yet. So I asked him to email me that story. He has yet to do it. But that's the kind of stories we need to promote. And I need my business community to be part of the promotion of St. Albert. We have a really good group called the Economic Sustainability Advisory Board, made up of business owners, and they can help with that storytelling. It's storytelling.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting texted here some questions that are coming online. And so one has come in, and it fits in right now in this part of the discussion about helping businesses set up that sort of thing or expand. So here's one, and I have to put on my glasses because it's too small compared to my huge words on my paper. It says, here's the question. In our attempt to attract more commercial industrial organizations, what would you say are the competitive advantages for companies to consider locating in St. Albert?
That's a good question. The question was for commercial, but I can go commercial and industrial. When we were identifying Lakeview Business District, I spoke to a couple commercial developers, and one of them was Wham, and they told us they needed good transportation networks, they needed good transit, and they needed a Tim Hortons. They said, we don't want Starbucks, we want Tim Hortons. Because it's the workers that are going to be arriving on the bus, going to work, and they want their Timmies. So simple things like that. But we, as I said in my speech, we have invested, this council has spent the entire term working on our transportation corridors with St. Albert Trail North, with Gibbon Drive, with the ITS, intelligent transportation systems we're putting in with the lights, which is still ongoing, and I think there's a question about that as well. So our transportation network is improving exponentially. That's a key factor. And then, of course, we have transit. It's important. And then the quality of life. We need affordable housing. And we've changed our land use bylaws significantly to allow for a diversified mix of housing that is much more affordable. So, we have listened to business and industry on what we need, and we're checking things off the list.
Okay.
And I believe we're very competitive.
Another one, I think I'm being asked to make this the next question,
Okay.
so I will. What is the mayor's thoughts on preserving agricultural lands in and around Edmonton from a St. Albert perspective?
I'm a huge proponent of preserving ag land. I participated last term in the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Board Growth Plan. I was on the task force, and I learned something there that said that I'm going to get the numbers wrong, in X number of years, we'll be one of X countries in the world. It's like 10 years and we'll be only of 7 countries possible of growing, producing, and exporting enough food to support our entire globe. So in the future, agriculture could potentially be more valuable and a bigger industry than our oil and gas in Alberta. So we have to preserve that land, because once you build a Costco and plow and over it, it's gone. So the growth plan calls for densification in urban areas, which is why you're seeing more houses per block, why you're seeing more high rises, because growth is not slowing down. So we have to put those same amount of people in smaller spaces. So the north of St. Albert, which is prime agricultural land, it's very good land, we want to preserve it. So we're working with the entire region on that growth plan and making sure that every new development we have conforms with that growth plan.
Okay, yeah, the industrial heartland, Villeneuve Airport area.
Yeah.
goes into a question that's on my list of what is the city currently doing or planning on doing to strengthen relationships and engagements for our residents and businesses?
In those two areas?
Exactly.
Industrial Heartland, we don't have a seat, and we don't have a lot of involvement with Industrial Heartland. They have been working, Mayor Nachu and Mayor Iveson have been working on a hydrogen project that Mayor Iveson has recently invited me to be a part of. So the Industrial Heartland's focus on hydrogen is important to me. But the Villeneuve Airport is a huge opportunity, and it's been part of the Chamber's priorities for years. Led strongly by Linda Moffat and followed by with Jen. It's been something that's very important. So Mayor Nachu has started the Villeneuve Landing Network. She's got St. Albert sitting at the table. She's got Mornville County, a couple other municipalities. She's got the airport at the table, Edmonton International. There's a lot of opportunity up there for St. Albert to try to capture, and we just need to figure out how we're going to invest in the Villeneuve Airport, because we will and we're willing to invest. We just want to see how that'll happen and what those returns will be back to St. Albert. But Lakeview Business District could be a huge spin-off for aviation type industry as well.
Okay.
Yep.
So as we talk about future development in that, I have a question here about revitalizing downtown, that sort of thing. Businesses and those we wish to attract are still dealing with issues that are negatively impacting our sustainability in the downtown core. Do you have any thoughts on reactivating the focus on the Pejonen district?
Yes, and I guess my comment would be, can't do everything all in 3 years, and that's something we need to look at doing in the future. I would point you to the development that is happening where the Blind Pig Pub used to be. So Niche Developments has tore that down. They've got a great development that they're going to put in. They're doing district heating. It's going to spur development in our downtown. So we just need some of those leaders in developers to get it going. And then I do know that council we've talked about not getting rid of our DART plan, but seeing if it's relevant today and seeing how we can make it better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also in the area, a topic here of a question that's come in about old fire hall number 1. So what are the plans on this once the new one is complete? How about an adaptive reuse into a homeless shelter?
That's a good idea. I have my own personal thoughts of what we could put there. It's a great piece of city land. It's expensive to tear the building down, so we're going to have to eat that price eventually. Because the building itself, I don't think is appropriate for a homeless shelter as is. It's full of asbestos. It's an old building, but it's a prime piece of land in our core that will be valuable. I would love to see the homeless shelter. That was my personal thoughts. The youth transitional housing, that's an opportunity right there. But again, there's some exciting times for that piece of land.
Okay.
And I'm really excited about Fire Hall 1, where it is going.
Yes.
It's going to be a great location and a great building.
By St. Albert Inn.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Another one here, this doesn't really fit into any specific topic, I don't think. Can you discuss the city's plans for Indigenous relationships and economic reconciliation?
Okay. This council was probably the first council in St. Albert's history to start our term with actually flying the Métis and the Treaty 6 flag in chambers. We wanted to make sure that even before we went down the path of reconciliation, those were two symbols that we started with. And we have done smudgings and blessings at the beginning of every year of our term. We funded and produced a report called the Pejonen Report. And we had lots of input. We called them talking circles. And we have talked to urban Indigenous that are living here in St. Albert. We've talked to the Métis, we've talked to Michif, the Cree, and we have this report with lots of recommendations coming out of it. Part of it is sensitivity training for our staff. There's opportunities for business development with the Indigenous community that I know Kevin Scoble is pursuing. We also are considering a stronger alliance with Enoch. A friend of mine is out there, and I knew him when I worked at an EnviroTest laboratory when I wore a white lab coat, and he's now running the show out at Enoch, and so I've reestablished that relationship, and there's some opportunities with Enoch as well.
Okay.
Exciting times.
I think I have 2 minutes left. I'm supposed to stop at 12:50.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw in one for traffic. That you talked a little bit about it, but here's a specific question about Gibbon Drive. Someone would like to know, when do you anticipate it to be completed, and when can we see the next phase start?
All right, so it's a 10-year plan. The City of St. Albert is funding the first half of it, the first 5 years, and the Government of Alberta is funding the last 5 years. Each phase is about a 2-year process. There's a design phase in 1 year and then construction in the next. I think we found some efficiencies to do some designing in tandem, but so we did a lot of construction, as everyone knows, this year, and for phase 1. Next year we'll have some relief from the construction while we design for phase 2, and then the year after will be the construction, and then so it's about a 10-year project.
Okay.
But the big bottleneck was the south side, which we did this year. So I'm hoping even with phase 1 being done, we'll see some drastic improvements with traffic.
Yay, more construction, but it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Okay, one more question. That's all I have time for.
Is it the recreation
It
center?
is. Yes, yes, it is. So, of course, we know you didn't really touch on it. What are the plans for the rec center right now?
Okay, I'll be quick. And I on purpose did not talk about the rec center in my speech, mostly because my speech was really supposed to be focused on how we are going to position ourselves to be part of Alberta's recovery. But the rec center was something that was identified, obviously, in the last election through plebiscite that we needed to build more aquatic space. So our council has been working very hard on that over this term. We identified the piece of land, which was the big piece, and thank you to Rohit for coming to the table and offering such a good deal for the city. There's a charter in our budget this year to fund conception planning of what that rec center will look like. And then I honestly don't know if the City of St. Albert has the money right now to build it. We need to pay off Service Place. We need to find partners to build this with. I would like to see a partnership with Sturgeon County and our neighbors, much like Tri-Leisure. But although it's still something that our council is working on, I have a feeling we're not going to be able to produce it this term.
Okay. Well, we're ending on that note. Okay.
I think that's a responsible decision to make because we can't afford everything.
Mayor Heron, thank you. I've appreciated your time here and enjoyed the chat here. And thank you to everybody who submitted questions. Thank you to Jennifer McCurdy, who's texting me, has been texting me things, which is great. You have extra time, Shauna. And here's another question. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
It's always nice to see you, Shauna.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Mark, back to you.
Are we supposed to just stay here?
Yeah, just
On behalf of the business community, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Mayor Heron, for taking time to speak to us. It is so important for our entire community to have the opportunity to hear about what is occurring in St. Albert, and especially at times like this, it is so important to hear about the wonderful work our city is doing. Thank you also to our board member, Shauna Randolph, for coming today and leading the discussion with the mayor. Greatly appreciate it, Shauna. Thank you. Before we conclude, we have a few announcements. The Chamber is very pleased to bring the indoor market to the community this year. For 5 Saturdays leading up to Christmas, thanks to the generous sponsorship of the Enjoy Center, we will be holding the market in the greenhouse at the Enjoy Center to allow for physical distancing of both our vendors and our patrons. We're also supporting the St. Albert Food Bank and Community Village and the Salvation Army Christmas store by collecting food items and wrapped toys. We hope you will join us. This year, more than ever, it is vital that we support our local businesses. The Chamber is happy to kick off our Share the Cheer Shop Here campaign. Businesses can sign up to participate through the Chamber office. Shoppers are encouraged to take a picture whenever they spend $30 or more and a hashtag Share the Cheer Shop Here and support St. Albert, and they will be entered to win a gift basket put together from the participating businesses. The city has recently launched St. Albert Cultivate, the Conversation online platform, which is a tool to provide opportunities for the public to participate and give input on various topics and projects the city is working on. We encourage you to go online and register and become part of the conversation. I'd like to thank the City of St. Albert for being one of today's sponsors, and in particular providing the art and theater for today's event. We'd also like to thank Charlene Saltenko of Desjardins Insurance for continuing to sponsor the State of the City address and for providing a gift bag as a draw, which includes a $75 gift certificate for Cloud9 pajamas. We have made the draw from the names of those attending in person and virtually, and the winner of the gift bag is Jillian Creech from St. Albert Centre. The Chamber will reach out to you, Jillian, to let you know how you can claim your prize. In closing, the Chamber would like to thank everyone for coming today, whether it be virtually or in person here. 2020 has been a challenging year for so many of you. And we not only want to remind you that the Chamber is here for you, but also thank you for continuing to support us. For those who are here in person, we ask you to take the closest exit either to the right or left and continue to practice physical distancing as you exit the theater. And on the way out, we ask that you not linger in the foyer, but please consider stopping and making a donation at the Salvation Army's Christmas Kettle. With that, please stay safe, stay healthy, and keep well. Thank you. Have a great day.